Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring When the Moon Hangs Low. This role-playing game takes inspiration from dark forms of entertainment such as Bloodborne, Darkest Dungeon, and Berserk. If you haven't seen part 1 of this review, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about character creation and the dreadful marks that both bless and curse the player characters. Each player in When the Moon Hangs Low controls a hunter who has been drawn to Harrowmire by the pool of fate. It is down to each individual player to create their character and subsequently work with the game master to tell the story of that character's journey through the cursed city. There are several steps when creating your character. You can do this in order, which is advised of course, or do them in the order based on your own inspiration and character concept. A typical character creation process can involve a lot of skipping around between the various steps as you hone your character from a rough idea to a finished concept. When the Moon Hangs Low is set in an expansive world heavily inspired by the Victorian Empire, but it is not a carbon copy of it, and nor does it share the Victorian prejudices towards ethnicity, sexuality, or gender. While it is certainly not a utopia, the Empire is a diverse nation, and players should not feel bound by any historical restrictions or expectations. You play the hunter you want to play. A name is a good place to start with a character. While a character can have any name the player desires, a few example names are provided. Some characters choose new names for themselves after they gain their mark, casting off their old life by taking on a new identity. Others may be black sheep that were cast out of their family and they came to Harrowmire to seek their fortune. Such people often discard their family names or even take on a nickname. Many hunters cling to their original names, hoping to retain what little remains of their old lives. Each hunter has a mark, a legacy of their brush with the dark. A character's mark grants them a boon, but also dictates their curse. Hunters cannot change their mark after they have been created. Their mark is an integral aspect of their personality. Character points are used to create the core of your character. All characters begin with a limited number of points, which are used to buy statistics and skills. All characters start with 1 point in each primary statistic: physique, intellect, and presence, for free. Concerning skills, characters start as untrained in all skills, so it's going to be relatively expensive as you spend points to train in a particular skill or master it. Now, when it comes to knacks, you choose 3 skills that your character has a knack for, and when a character makes a skill check that they have a knack for, they roll 2 6-sided dice as indicated in part 1. You also choose a number of edges to start with, and once a character's primary statistics have been finalized, you should calculate their derived stats, which are health, wound track, and resolve. You also obtain starting equipment, for example a set of common clothes, a leather satchel, tinderbox, and shillings to spend later on. Characters can spend their shillings to purchase weapons, armor, and other items of equipment. Then, to finalize the character as a distinct person, it may help some players to answer a few questions about them. For example, who were they before they became a hunter? How did they gain their mark? When did they gain their edges? They give you a complete example of character creation. Now let's talk about marks. Every hunter bears a mark, a lasting sign of their first encounter with darkness. For some, their mark is something physical, such as a wound or a scar. For others, it might be something more imperceptible, but no less traumatic and significant. Each mark grants the hunter who bears it a boon, a strange ability that will help them in their battles against the creatures of darkness. Simultaneously, a hunter's mark also confers a terrible curse, which, as the hunters repeatedly pit themselves against the horrors of Harrowmire, will grow steadily stronger until it finally consumes them. Players choose which mark their hunter bears during character creation. Hunters cannot change their mark after they have been created. It becomes a part of their body and their soul. Some boons require concentration to use, whereas others are innate abilities that are always in effect. The general function of a boon is described in the individual description, but they are by no means the limits of the boon. Some players may come up with clever and unexpected applications for them. Boons are strange, mysterious, and certainly not everyday occurrences. While hunters are accustomed to their abilities and those of their allies, to the regular people of the Empire they are strange and unsettling. The people of Harrowmire have a slightly broader gauge for weird than most people in the Empire, but even they find marks odd and disconcerting. Now let's talk about curses. Characters are always affected by the curse of their mark, but in varying intensity depending on the current degree of severity of their curse. The severity of a character's curse is increased each time they completely run out of resolve. A character can reduce the severity of their curse by spending time between missions recuperating. Each degree of severity confers a separate effect. Some penalties are purely thematic in nature, whereas other effects have a direct mechanical consequence. When a curse confers a thematic effect, players are expected to incorporate these effects into the role-playing of their character. The effects of each degree of a character's curse are cumulative with those that come before them. Some hunters might view their mark as simply a legacy of whatever fateful experience opened their eyes to the existence of strange forces beyond the normal world. While that is true, there is a deeper and more terrible significance to marks that many are ignorant of. A mark is a spiritual scar left when a person is touched and changed by the supernatural forces of darkness that exist beyond the mortal world. Some people might intentionally seek out such encounters and afterwards, assuming they survive, become loyal adherents of the darkness, such as cultists, sorcerers, and other such monsters in human guise. Hunters, however, differ in that they are either ignorant of what they have encountered or willingly opposed to it. By luck or intent, they refuse the offer made by the darkness that would leave them in its thrall. Blessed with a strong resolve, hunters are able to hold off their curse and use the strange powers granted by it for their own ends. However, due to the destructive nature of the darkness, many only succeed in staving off their curse for a few years at most, before they finally succumb to it. It is no coincidence that most hunters seek a noble end by pitting themselves against the nightmarish creatures found wherever the darkness is strongest, places such as Harrowmire. So what exactly is this darkness? The darkness is a supernatural force that exists outside of normal reality. It may be a single vast entity or a host of them. The truth is its nature is so alien that humans have very little hope of truly understanding it. Whatever the exact nature of the darkness, it hates the immortal world and seeks to subvert and destroy it however it can. In places, reality is thin enough that the darkness can break through, exerting its will to reshape the world in subtle and horrible ways. Some humans and other creatures carry traces of the darkness within them. Even those who willingly serve the darkness seldom realize they are little more than its puppets. And this concludes this part of the review for today. In the next part I am going to talk about each of the different marks, their boons, their curses, and the way that they evolve, granting strange powers to the hunters, but also bringing them closer to their doom. As you can see, the character creation process is quite simple, and we will go into more detail concerning the different features of the character creation process in future parts of this review. Now, when it comes to the marks, they are quite flavorful, and they are truly that double-edged sword that not only strengthens the hunter in his or her fight against the darkness, but it also pulls that individual, that unfortunate soul, into the forces of entities that live in the evil worlds beyond. Thanks for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.